Hi everyone, it's Cherise Michelle Davis, and I am back with a brand new episode of Pineapple Talks. In this conversation, you are going to hear from Tim Anziano, who's also a Johnson & Wales alumni. Tim is the licensing manager for the MLB Players Association. You heard me right, MLB, the Major League Baseball, okay? Tim is going to give you a peek into the sports, entertainment, and event management aspect of the hospitality industry. So I hope you enjoy this episode, and I can't wait to bring you new conversations, new information, new insight, new inspiration from men and women who are making a mark in the hospitality space. Tim, I want to thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to interview you. I'm really excited to have this conversation, and I want to start it off by asking about the then phase of your life uh, before you are who you are today. I want to know what life was like for you. So, where are you from originally?
I am originally from Long Island, New York. I'm about 60 miles from New York City, 60 miles to Montauk Point. So, smack right in the middle of the big fish looking island they call Long Island.
I love it. So, what was life like growing up for you?
It was great. It was a suburb atmosphere. A lot of family around, always doing Sunday dinners, barbecues. My brother and I were big sports fans growing up, watching games, playing wiffle ball, playing basketball, football.
Mhm.
I had I was blessed with the upbringing I had for sure.
Yeah. So, I know in another conversation you had mentioned to me that you are Italian. So, did you have like, the big Italian dinners growing up?
Sure did. Sunday afternoons at my grandparents' house. The whole family would be there, cousins, aunts, uncles. It was really a really great experience, and it's something I cherish to this day.
Yeah, that sounds lovely. Sunday dinners, for many different cultures are just a big deal. And so I think that's great that that was an experience that you got to have growing up. And so I kind of want to begin this talking about your journey into the hospitality space. And so you are in hospitality, but you are in what our school, Johnson and Wales University, calls SEE, so sports entertainment and event, management. So, what would you say was your aha moment? Did it happen when you were growing up? Did it happen when you were in high school? When did you kind of realize that you wanted to head in that direction?
Well, it's funny actually. So my first experience with the world of hospitality was I think I was 14 or 15 years old.
Mhm.
Summertime throughout, I was in high school, so it was summertime looking for a job, and I ended up working for a catering company out here on Long Island for the summer. And the event that I worked was called the Hampton Classic, and no, I had no idea what it was. It was actually a big horse show, for all the elite out in the Hamptons.
Okay.
So I was part of the catering company, and I really enjoyed just talking to people. I mean, I guess I was working hard, I was serving them, but I enjoyed just the interaction I had with people. At that point, I'm like, I want to do something. Loosely thinking this way, I wanted to do something that I was interacting with people that I enjoyed doing, and just kind of free flowing conversation while doing my job, obviously. But that was the first like aha moment, like, oh, maybe I can make money while doing this post school, and uh, and that kind of had me off into that route.
I see. I see. Um, so once you made that decision that you wanted to go in the hospitality space, how did you get to Johnson and Wales? I always ask people, what's your JW story?
All right. I didn't know of Johnson and Wales probably until my junior year of high school. I had an older cousin that went there. She's about 10, 11 years older than me. Um, and she went to Johnson and Wales. And, like sisters do, my aunt and my mom talked to each other. And when I was going through the whole college application process, came across Johnson and Wales. And a lot of things hit me there that I was like, oh, this sounds really interesting. First, um, SEE, Sports Entertainment Event Management. Never even heard of such a major before. And once it had sports in the major, I was kind of like, all right, this might be something I can do. Um, so that was the first time I've heard of it. But then there was also I was able to get a scholarship with my FBLA when I was in high school, Future Business Leaders of America. That paid for books, so that was always an incentive, especially paying my own way through college. I had to make sure that I can get whatever I can, financial support. And then I played baseball, so I was able to connect with the coach there my senior year of high school, and he gave me I got a grant to play baseball at Johnson and Wales in Providence, and it was just it kind of all hit the buckets, and candidly, I heard there was no school on Fridays at Johnson and Wales, and that was kind of like the cherry on top. I'm like, okay, no school on Fridays, perfect, 3-day weekend, I could do that.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the final touch there that I was like, all right, let's pursue this.
Yeah. So I can definitely agree with you too in the whole Johnson Wales experience. There were things too, when I went to the Charlotte campus, and there were things that I learned that I thought was special and unique. And for instance, at the Charlotte campus, we actually had to wear professional attire. I don't know if you all had to do that at Providence. You didn't have to do
Mm-mm.
that. Okay. I think it's because you all had a really, your campus was set up differently. Ours was right in the heart of Charlotte, and so we had to look like we were professionals. But did you all have to do name tags? We had name tags.
We did not.
Oh,
Not I think for like the culinary side,
yeah,
they all had to wear name tags, where they're from, which was a very cool concept considering once you get out of college, I always wore a name badge in every position I held,
mhm,
um, which was interesting. But one other thing about Johnson Wales that I just remembered, um, I love the fact that the professors were adjunct professors that were in the industry.
yeah,
That was such a what a great experience to learn from these guys and women that were actually in the industry doing what we were setting forth to do.
yeah,
Um, I really that kind of got the hook in my mouth there. That
yeah.
was it.
I definitely agree with you on that. And in fact, they really kind of set the bar for me as being a professor. Um, and I will admit that when I first started teaching at Atlanta Tech, I felt I was a little insecure because I was like, when I was in school, I mean, my professors were incredible, years of experience. And, so I did feel a little some type of way, but, after, been doing it for about 5 years now. So it's, there's confidence now, but initially it was like, I don't know. They
I
are.
bet standing in front of all those students, I bet. I mean, it's something I want to do later in my career for sure, is to become an adjunct professor, just because how memorable it was for me to
Yeah.
have those professors that worked in the industry. And I would love to give back somehow. But same with you. I think my anxiety would probably be through the roof those first couple times.
Yes. So still staying with Johnson Wells for just one more moment, I want to maybe ask if there is, a life lesson or a skill that maybe you learned while you were in school that you still apply to, the work that you do today. We
Sure.
know we got the check on the name tags. Is there anything else that you would say?
There's two things. One is network.
Um,
They pounded home to us that network is your net worth. You want to make sure that this industry is large, as we all know, but it's also small world. You run into a lot of the same folks that you work with over the course of your career, um, and you never want to burn a bridge because you never know when that's going to come back around. So um, they really were Johnson and Wales professors, and just the campus overall just really made it clear that network is so key in this industry and such in life, but especially for our industry.
mhm,
So that was the one item I took. The second was work hard.
mhm,
Um, I'll be candid with you. I was not a good student. I was distracted easily. Playing baseball, enjoyed college, maybe a little too much at times, um, but I got through it. I worked hard. I showed my professors, the grades might not be there. Might not be a dean's list student,
mhm.
but I'm living proof that you don't need to be to make it in this career, in this industry. You just got to work hard. You gotta know that you got to roll up your sleeves and you're in it. You are working when everybody's playing. And
Especially in hospitality as
oh
well.
yeah,
This hospitality and culinary space is, yeah. When
yeah,
people are having a good time, that's when you're working.
exactly, exactly. Once you realize that,
Yeah.
everything else kind of falls into place. But there's a thousand of me out there trying to get the same job, so you have to outwork those people the best of your ability. And I'm fortunate enough to be one.
Right. So while you were, in school, were you interning? Where were you working? Where were you putting in this work
A few places I worked within the hospitality realm. The first job I had in Providence, I think it was my sophomore year. I was working at the PPAC, the Providence Performing Arts Center, right on Main Street there in Providence, right between our two campus buildings. As you know, Providence campus is spread out throughout the city. Um, so I was there. I got hired to work in the box office, and I would sell tickets, look at the seating charts, and use the ticket system that we had, and it was a good experience. The one thing I took away from that is that I never wanted to work in the box office again.
at?
So at
That's
least I
what I asked you, like, what was, while you were there, were you like, this is it, or you were like, this is not it?
Yeah, no, I quickly understood that, a great job, a great, some people might have that mentality to do it, obviously, and do it well. I wasn't. I got bored very easily. Sitting behind a desk was not my forte at that time, and it took a little bit, but I mean, it was a good experience for sure. I learned the ticket system, learned how it's done, how the box office operates, but at the same time, I knew that I don't want to pursue my career in a box office role. So um, it was good. It was good and bad for that. I knew what I checked off my list of what to do post college.
Yeah.
The second job I had that I worked with throughout the course of my college career was a local catering company up in Rhode Island, and I would be a server, a passer, working cocktail parties. For like a BMW car dealership, an event at night, or a graduation party, anything really high end white glove service, which was a great job. It was good for a college kid. Got to work in the industry that I was going to school for, which was cool. Get to see that, and I enjoyed that. The same. I was interacting with people, and just kind of making people laugh, and just socializing with the patrons that were there, and I enjoyed that a lot.
So I guess, you know, that's to your point about taking on these jobs. It's so important to, the point that I'm hearing is that it's good to try different things so that you start to learn yourself, what works, what doesn't work, you see where you thrive.
Exactly.
And then maybe even the exposure, because being in the box office or ticket office is totally different than being, like you said, in a high end space, and I'm sure your exposure, your eyes are like, oh wow, people are living, people are doing well.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
People are doing well. So, was there any other experience that happened during your college years that then kind of pushed you into the sports space?
Well, it's funny because there was really nothing during my college tenure, but once I hit my final trimester of my senior year, you had to do an externship,
Yes.
which is yeah, I know you know that phrase. That was just real world experience. Their twist on an internship, um, and my externship coordinator at Johnson and Wales in Providence, the year that I was looking to do it, left the college. So we had nobody helping us, all of the graduating seniors, on landing a role here, because they would use the university's connections and network to place us on certain, at least get us interviews.
Mhm.
Um, so our guy, took another job, so kind of left all of us to fend for ourselves, not knowing much except for what we learned in the classroom. So this is before emails were really prevalent. So I would type out, I mean, probably 45 letters. Um, Baseball teams, basketball teams, football teams, soccer. I would blast them out every to every HR manager there was. Just explaining, hey, just graduated college. I'm looking for an internship to fulfill my college
Right.
requirements.
Requirement.
I got so many rejection letters, and I still have them. Just
Mhm.
as motivation when I was younger, I kept them. Say, oh, you don't have enough experience, and I'm like, yeah, no kidding, I have no experience. That's why I'm coming to
I'm
you,
trying to be here.
right? Uh, but so fortunately, I ended up landing an internship at Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. Um, and that I was the assistant to the general manager of the facility that oversaw food and beverage, oversaw the suites, oversaw just all basic operations from the grounds crew to the mascot. Um, that was the Florida Marlins, the then Florida Marlins, and the St. Louis Cardinals spring training facility, and it also hosted their two minor league teams. So it was one of the busiest stadiums in the country. Over 160 home games that we worked in the course of from April to September, or May to September, March to September.
Wow.
Great experience. I mean, it was a great experience. It was a 9 month internship.
Wow. That's right, because usually you would just it would be, your 3 months are just for that semester, but yours spilled over.
Yeah,
Wow.
so when I got down there in Florida of January of '07 to
Mhm.
start, so I was technically done at the end of March with my college requirements. And obviously that was just right after spring training ended, which was crazy for us, right into the minor league season. And I could have technically walked away then, but I had no reason to. There was, I was still hired. I mean, I was getting paid, not much by any means, but still getting paid to pay my rent because I was down in Florida by myself, and my parents and everybody was up in New York. Um, and it was just a great experience. I mean, I felt like it fast tracked my career working that many events, live events, from being a green faced kid out of college to working over 100 events in one calendar year.
Mm. So what happened next? Did you stay with them longer or did you
So
transition?
this ties back into my days at the PPAC. So after my internship was over, I got offered a job, full time job at the stadium as the box office manager, and I kindly declined it.
Yeah.
Um, going back to my days at PPAC, that I was like, I'm not doing that.
Mhm.
Um, so I left the stadium, ended up managing a restaurant down in West Palm Beach, Florida, place called Park Avenue Barbecue. A couple like a little chain restaurant down there, which was a great experience. Becoming a manager straight out of my internship. I was 22 years old. Um, so it was a really good side to see the restaurant side and the food and beverage side, which ultimately helped me with my career down the road. And I didn't want to leave Florida. I was in Providence. I was in New York. I was in the cold. I'm like,
Right. I
I
was just
want to stay down there with the palm trees, and that job allowed me to do that.
yeah, I love it. So, what would you say were maybe some of the challenges or, learning curves that you had in that restaurant management space?
The biggest, which I faced later in my career too, is being a young, recent graduate of college, now managing people that are twice my age. Um, always, and I remember I was tapped. I did my training for like a month, and then I was set to open up a new restaurant, one of the new chains. And my one of my first duties from one of the owners of the restaurant was to fire like a 15-year employee that's been working there, an older gentleman.
Mhm.
Um, and my heart sank. I'm like, I've never fired anybody before, especially I'm 2 months into this role, and this guy has been busting his butt for this company for over a decade. Um, but the restaurant was slow at the time, and obviously tough decisions have to be made, which I understand. But I was still, I mean, that was a tough conversation for me to have. Um, but it also taught me a really good lesson that that it has nothing to do with your personal actions or anything like that. It's all comes down, unfortunately, to the bottom line and what needs to make the restaurant profitable. Um, but yeah, no, that kept me up for a couple days. No, not lying there. That was tough. I mean,
I can
just that
imagine
my heart sank.
at no point firing is an easy thing, even if you want the person to go or
Right.
not
And
want the person to go.
especially it wasn't a disciplinary thing. You know, if he did something wrong, it makes it a little less painful. But he did nothing wrong. It was just based on overhead.
Mhm. I
So
see.
yeah, that was kind of a crash course in management 101.
Yeah, those are interesting things. I was curious to know when you think back to, education at Johnson and Wales, did you feel that once you start working, as the restaurant manager and, maybe some of the other positions you had prior to it, do you feel like you were prepared for it?
I think I was prepared as best as they could for us.
Mhm.
Obviously, as you know too, that a lot of things go out the window once your boots on the ground.
Yes,
Um,
real
you
world.
know,
Yeah.
you rely on what you were taught and lessons that our professor shared with us, but you really don't know how you're going to react until you're in it. Um, and that I had a very good baseline of mentors and college professors that really prepared us well for the real world. But you can learn as much as you want in the classroom, but as soon as you step out into the real world, it's game on, and you're kind of learning on the fly.
Yeah. Yes. So, what happened next?
Oh man! All
So
right, so after that,
after after your time in Florida, did you stay in Florida longer?
I did. I was refusing to leave. I actually got back to my networking. A person that I worked with at Roger Dean Stadium during my internship
Mhm.
offered me a position at Dolphin Stadium in Miami. So I became the retail operations manager for Dolphin Stadium. Not knowing much about retail or not knowing anything about retail at that point in my career, um, I oversaw all the operation for at that time the Miami Dolphins were playing there, the Florida Marlins were playing there, and the University of Miami Hurricanes football was playing there.
Wow.
So it was a great experience because at three teams playing at once. So we would have a homestand end for the Marlins on a Thursday, turn the entire stadium over, take out the merchandise for the Marlins, put in the Miami Hurricanes stuff on a Saturday, and then after Saturday night's game, there would be a Dolphins home game on Sunday. So I would sleep in the suites and get up and flip everything over, and then get ready for the Dolphins game on Sunday. So it was wild. I mean, it was a great experience. That year, we hosted the national championship game against it was Oklahoma versus Florida, Tim Tebow versus Bradford, which was a great experience.
Mhm.
It was a 23-hour day after the count out and all that, and
Yeah.
it was just a great experience. I loved it.
How
That was my first initiation into stadium hospitality on the retail side, which I didn't even know existed until I was in it.
right, which is, the beauty of trying new things, and again, too, I'm just really glad to be speaking with you because I don't know that people actually connect the dots of, hospitality and its connection with, with sports and entertainment. And I love how you just referred to it as stadium hospitality. That's yeah.
It is a big business. I mean, the company I worked for at that time was called Boston Culinary Group. They oversaw the retail, the food and beverage concessions, and the premium levels, the suites, the restaurants, so forth. Um, so it was a big money maker. Obviously, at a big stadium like that, and I really had no idea. I knew a little bit from my internship, but to be fully engulfed in it at Dolphin Stadium, I
Yeah.
mean, it was such an eye opener for me.
Yes. And with major, which I mean, these are like important teams.
Hmm.
Major,
Yeah, no, it was fun, and I got to stay in Florida.
yes, yes, yes. So, I'm wanting to move into talking about life now, but is there any other, things that went on career-wise, professionally, or personally before leading up to, where you're at now that you want to share?
My path is kind of wild. If I'll take you down it real quick. After after my time at Dolphin Stadium, I got offered a job at Yankee Stadium. So to come back home to New York, open up a brand new building. That was 2009,
Mhm.
um, which was very exciting for me. Being a Yankees fan growing up, it was like, yes, I'll take it. Um, I was the retail manager there. Obviously, in '09, we won the World Series, which was awesome. So I got a World Series ring, and I was in the parade in right on Broadway in New York City,
Wow.
behind the Yankees players, which was phenomenal. I
You were
mean, dream
like, oh,
come true.
you feel like I'm living my best life, but was
I was done. I was 23, 24. I was like, I'm good. Um, so yeah, to completely, absolutely fortunate for that. I was working for Legends Hospitality at the time. It was a brand new company formed by George Steinbrenner, Jerry Jones of the Cowboys, um, Goldman Sachs, and CIC Partners, which is an investment firm down in Dallas. Um, they've grown to a monster company now, Legends. But I was probably employee number 20 with the inception of it. Um, for that, we in '09 we also went down and opened up the new Cowboy Stadium. Got to see a football game there. Helped out their support staff that helped us with Yankee Stadium.
Mhm.
Um, and then in 2010, I got tapped to be the general manager for the Camden River Sharks, which is in Camden, New Jersey, minor league independent baseball. I was the youngest general manager at the time of a professional sports venue at 24 years old.
This is
My
I'm just sitting here like, wow.
It was that was a learning curve. I mean, I had to fake it until I made it, kind of deal. I had a lot of support staff. My upper management gave me plenty of support staff. Really groomed me into that role and oversaw food and beverage, the suites, um, and the merchandise. So it was really a good experience there. I did well there. In 2011, the president of the company asked me to go to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, to run the Winston-Salem Dash ballpark. Um, it just opened up the year before, so I was the general manager for that facility, and that was a great experience. Not too far from where Charlotte campus was. Loved that area; it was great. But at the end of that season, I got asked by the vice president of Yankee Stadium to come back to
Independent. I just want to pause for a second and say, I think, another lesson I remember before you were talking about the importance of working hard and networking, and literally that is what you have been doing, and that has led to just the success that you had. I mean, it got to a point where people are asking you, your work is speaking for you. So you're not
uh,
looking, opportunities are coming to you.
yeah, it was. I mean, I'm fortunate, but I know I busted my butt getting there. So I would never tell my president or vice president no. You want me to do something? You want me to move to Alaska? Sure, you got it. At that time I could. I had no family or anything. I had no kids at the time, so I was able to do that, and I'm glad I did. Um, so I got called, end of 2011 to come back to Yankee Stadium to be the director of retail, which I was gladly to come, happy to come back home to New York. Um, and worked the rest of the season there. And from 2000, I left in 2013, January, February, and I took a job back in Florida with a company called Lojo Sports Marketing as a VP of sales. Small company, marketing agency for players, for athletes. We did a lot of signings with U.S. soccer team, U.S. women's soccer team, a lot of MMA fighters, a lot of baseball players, hockey greats, Gordie Howe, and all these really legends, I would say, in the industry, athletes, which was a great job. I loved it. I enjoyed it.
Mhm.
Um, but it wasn't a career move for me. It was just kind of, just a move because I was kind of burnt out from the stadium life, just working, moving all over the place. So I just wanted a break. 2014, I got asked by this is how networking comes in. My old boss at Dolphin Stadium got hired by Centerplate, another hospitality company, to open up the LEVI Stadium in San Francisco, in Santa Clara, California, for the 49ers.
Yeah.
I said yes, I would come and do it. Um, Packed up my stuff again, drove across country,
The West.
uh, and I went to the West Coast and opened up that facility as the retail operations manager, which was great. Opened up another brand new stadium, a storied franchise like the 49ers. I just couldn't beat it. I was like, okay, let's do it. And I was
And
there.
you had lived your best life before, and then realize, yeah, I'm still living my best life.
Yeah, it's definitely if you're willing to move around, it definitely has its perks. Obviously, it's not as easy as that. It's tough to pick up and move, your entire life. But I was in a position I could do that, and I took advantage of it. So after 2014, 2015, I asked for a transfer back to New York because my fiance at the time and I were expecting our first child, and we wanted to be closer to home. Not on the left coast where we had no family, no, nothing like that. All of our support was back here. So I got a transfer within center plate to the Long Island Ducks, which is a independent minor league baseball team not far from where I grew up. As the general manager. So that was a good role just to get me back to New York. And then after that season ended, I got a call from the PA and been there ever since.
Wow, the PA is the Players Association for MLB. Wow.
So that's the long, the short version.
I mean, so that was a quick ride and a very exciting ride through your professional path and journey. So these days, you're with the Players Association. And so tell us about what your role is. What's your title? What do you do for the association?
So Major League Baseball Players Association, we are the union for all MLB active players. Um, My role there is a licensing manager. I oversee a category called hard goods, which are all novelty items, uh, bobbleheads, pennants, lanyards, keychains, posters, um, artwork, anything that doesn't fall on the apparel side of things comes to me. So I have about 50 licensees. They're companies that produce player product.
Okay.
Um, I manage those companies. I do the approvals. I negotiate the contracts. I write the contracts, um, and help with marketing schemes. Help with product launch. Um, it's a really fun job. I mean, basically, I got to play with toys all day. I mean, that's
Yeah,
what it comes down to.
yeah, it does seem like that. So, and as you were breaking down, what's all involved in the role, there were so many pieces. There's marketing, there is, you would say you're helping to draft, you're drafting contracts. So, that's legal stuff. So, how did prior to coming here, were you prepared for that part? Or you have
the
to learn that on the job?
the last uh, contract contract anything I had to do with was probably in college in 2003. I had no idea. The learning curve was tough.
Mhm.
Um, it took me probably about 15 months to really get a grasp on what exactly, um, especially the legal side, what I had to do to keep my job essentially. Um, and it was it was tough. I mean, kind of like a pseudo lawyer, just because I'm drafting deal points, deal memos, negotiating um, minimum guarantees that they'll pay us, royalty rates that they'll pay us, um, and then drafting it, which was, I mean, now I could do it in my sleep, but at
Yeah,
first I was scratching my head, and legal terms are so much different, and kudos to the lawyers that do this, but I
yeah.
mean, it is a whole different world. Which I probably know the basic minimum what I need to do, but
Mhm.
it is a learning curve for sure, and I had really no prior experience doing it.
So, in this process of taking on this new role, did you have a mentor of some kind, or did you network with other individuals who serve in similar positions?
During my career in the in with Legends Hospitality, I had three people that I really looked up to and really helped me guide my way.
Mhm.
Um, that's how I got to the PA. I When I was working at Yankee Stadium, 2009, 2012, and I was there for the playoffs for 2010 and 11. Because they always brought managers back to help out with larger crowds. So my current boss, who has been with the Players Association for like 20 plus years, me and him did a retail promotion at Yankee Stadium to promote player products, jerseys, name and number tees, bobbleheads, whatever the case was. So that was my first interaction with my current boss, not thinking that I'd be working for him down the road. And for networking purposes, I always kept in touch. If he was coming to the stadium, I'll take care of him and his guests. If they want something, help them out, get them food, whatever the case was. So when he found out that I moved back to New York from San Francisco, he's like, "I have a job opening. Are you interested?" I was like, "Absolutely." I mean, absolutely. The goal for me was always to get to the league or an association, just because then you're overseeing not just one team. Now it's everybody. And I was fortunate enough to, I went into the city, interviewed, and the rest is history, as they say.
Yes, yes. What would you say is maybe a couple of highlights or maybe a perk from this position? Like, do you get to have some of this, memorabilia or, some of these products from
Yeah,
these
yeah, no.
players? Like,
Well, prior to this year, which obviously, we're all trying to get back to normal from COVID, but prior to COVID, um, every spring training, I would go down to Florida for spring training.
mhm,
Um, a team of us would go to Florida, and another team would go to Arizona. Um, my job was to go into every clubhouse, talk to the players, and get them to sign baseballs that we'll use for retail promotion for the stadiums. So I'm pretty lucky, fortunate enough to be, rubbing elbows with a lot of these, megastars, um, which, end of the day, they're normal guys.
yeah,
They're young
yeah,
kids that are playing a sport.
for that's that's dope. That
Yeah, I mean, I like sometimes I'm sitting there, especially when I first started. I'm sitting in the clubhouse. I'm like,
I'm really here right
am I
now.
really here right now?
Right. Wow.
Oh, that's probably the best perk.
Yeah.
Just the player interaction and it's just a really cool just to talk to these guys. Not being starstruck or anything like that because hell, they're younger, 10 years younger than I am. And I'm just kind of like, hey, tell me about it. And I played baseball many moons ago, but you're living the dream that every kid has growing up playing in the backyard. Um, and they, a lot of them are receptive to that, and they're like, "No, I appreciate it," um, and yeah, it was really, I mean, that's always my favorite part, favorite travel of the job for sure.
Wow. Mm. I don't know. Maybe some people might consider careers in the Players Association. That seems like that might be a great space to be in. So you had mentioned, you know, the pandemic and just kind of how how are you and as well as I guess the staff managing everything that went on with the pandemic.
Yeah, it was interesting because I was in spring training,
Mhm,
2020, when the world started to shut down.
mhm,
They started pulling. I think the basketball game was first. They emptied out the crowds, in the middle of a game, and then the spring training games started to get canceled one after another. It's kind of a domino effect. Um, Obviously, it's very strange for us because we all had to shift to work from home, which, as you can see, I'm still working from home. Um,
I did it.
which I like working from the first couple months. I could tell you, I was really struggling working from home. I had my kids here. My wife, well, I had my oldest. My wife was 7, 8 months pregnant, due with our second. Um, and it was just a lot going on, and not knowing what the world was. You hear unfortunate stories, everybody getting sick and passing, the hospital filling up, and it was a scary time. Fortunately, I was able to keep my job. I know a lot of people unfortunately weren't able to. We're such a small group that that we don't have many layers. I am the layer for what I do.
Mhm.
Um, so we had to rethink how we're going to do things, especially because most of my categories are sold in stadium. So that was not happening, obviously, because there was no fans allowed.
Right.
So my overall numbers, the apparel numbers, really took a hit.
Mhm.
What saved us was the trading cards and the digital gaming. So a lot of people were playing Xbox, PlayStation. So our game was flourishing there. You know, a lot of people didn't know what was going on. Kids were home from school, so opted to play video games.
Yeah.
That's great because that benefited us. And trading cards, I don't know if you followed that at all, but they have been off the charts. Ever since the pandemic hit, it's been mayhem. Like back, like
Yeah.
they've never seen anything like this. They can't even keep stuff on shelf. There's people lined up on Tuesdays when shipment comes in at 5 a.m. at Target, Walmart to get the incoming inventory. It's been wild, but that has been our saving grace. And it looks like this year we just launched our PlayStation game. Uh, MLB The Show was only for PlayStation. We launched this year the show on Xbox as well. So this is the first time we've ever done that. Sony and Microsoft working together to give the product on both platforms. And we are seeing record numbers with that right now. So this year should be a banner year for us, hopefully.
Right.
Even in the stadium channel, we're starting to see more people come in, restrictions getting loosened. So we're starting to see some inventory sell through now that was just dead inventory all of 2020.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm glad to see, that there's some things opening up, and and that's just really going to be a blessing to people. This is people's livelihood, and people they need to be out in the sun.
I agree. I agree. And it's tough because a lot of my close friends in the industry, a lot of them were furloughed. I mean, they're starting to get brought back now that there's people in venues,
Yeah,
but a lot of them were struggling. I mean, the government incentives and the unemployment. I mean, thank God we're there because they really help people get through. But it was a scary time, and I'm happy to see most of them are back now at their positions.
yeah,
Some aren't. Some took other jobs that are doing well now. They don't want to go back in case this happens again. So, but for the most part, we're starting to see everything open up, and I know New York now. Everything's open. I think full capacity at Yankee and Met Stadium now. So we're looking forward to it.
yeah. I'm excited about it as well. So I really, really just absolutely enjoyed learning about your experiences, and hearing about all the super cool things that you've been able to do. But before we wrap up this conversation, I do want to chat about what you want to do next. What's the later phase of your life? What do you see happening? What do you hope to happen? Um, Tell us about that.
So we at the PA just rebranded our business group. So just a little background of the PA. So the MLB PA represents the players. MLB represents the owners.
Oh,
So MLB represents the front of the jersey. We represent the back of the jersey with the name and number. That's broad description. Um, we at the PA just rebranded. So there's three arms to it. So you have the union, the MLB PA. You have the Players Trust, which is our charity arm, and then the MLB PI, which is I am in. We just rebranded last year. We're MLB Players Inc. now. So with that, we are no longer under. Um, we have a little more ability to do more things with our partners and future partners and sponsorships. So with that rebranding, there's going to be a lot of opportunity within my organization to grow, and that's where I hope to see. I'm hoping to get ahead and start doing more retail development as we see things coming back to normal.
mhm.
Um, Working with the teams, all 30 clubs. That's my big goal here is just to establish better contacts there and try to help where we can. Um, outlook down the road. I always have the itch to go back to the stadium life.
Okay.
There's no doubt that I love conversing with people, talking to fans, and because I am a fan first and foremost. So that's how I look, how I want to treat people that are coming to these venues.
Mhm.
Um, so I think once my kids are a little bit older, my oldest is 5, and my baby is 1.
Oh,
So it's really tough to be working 90 hours a week right now and not being around. In fairness to my wife, so where I'm at now is a great spot. I don't foresee any changes. Me leaving unless the right opportunity comes. But I am happy with my management. I'm happy with my company. If I do get the itch, maybe 10, 15 years down the road, go back to the stadium venue at upper management level,
Yeah.
I would consider it for sure. Just to get back out in front of people. I
Okay.
love it.
Yes. Okay, last question. Um, what maybe would you just say is like another nugget of advice or wisdom that you would give someone that is has heard you share and they're like, I want to do what he does. So what would you maybe suggest as a good start? A good, place to begin.
It doesn't matter. You have to be in the mentality that you're not above any job. Got to start somewhere. You're not going to come into this industry and be like, "Hey, I want to be the general manager for this stadium or for this team." Doesn't
Mhm.
happen. I mean, it just doesn't happen. You have to put in your time. Once you once you see a position that's open, it might not be the most glorious one because I've been there. I've been in the mascot uniform. It stinks, but
See,
I
here too.
I came out. um, so just never turn down an opportunity that's going to get you to the next one.
Mhm.
That's not if I had to be in the box office, I would have been in the box office to get to that next step.
Yeah,
Fortunately, I didn't have to, but if I wanted to continue my career there, I would have done it. But there's so many avenues, especially in the sports stadiums, special stadium hospitality. There's
mhm.
just so many opportunities there. If you're willing to put in the work, you start off as an associate, make your way up to a supervisor, then you become a manager, then director, and then you got to put in the work in order to get to the finished goal. There's if you're walking on the concourse, I always used to do this because my mentor did this. I'm walking on the concourse at a game. There's a napkin on the ground. I'm gonna pick it up and throw it in the trash. I just keep walking like that's part of my day.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go out and help in the parking lot if somebody needs help. Bringing older fans into the stadium, or somebody needs to wave the cone to get people in. I'll go do it. It doesn't matter what my title is. If somebody needs help, step in because
Right.
that'll go a long way.
Yeah. I think that's excellent, and your story is a testament to that. How you started and where you're at now, and then also just along the way you start to learn other aspects of you, and then you start to see um, areas that you can grow and evolve in, and so maybe where you started, you probably didn't even realize that where you're at now was where you ended up being, but who knew when you started? But I think you stuck to those core things that were important to you. That's people, that's networking, that's serving others. And so, whether you're doing it in the stadium or you're doing it in the office, the values are the same. So I think
Yep, well said. Yep.
well, I want to thank you so much, Tim Anziano, for giving me the opportunity to speak with you. And I'm sure that people are going to love this episode of Pineapple Talks.
Cherise, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad we connected. I always love talking to fellow JWU alumni, and it's been an honor. I really do appreciate you thinking about me for this.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you.